Do you feel like you're reinventing the wheel every time you do a project? And let me tell you, if that's a feeling you have, then I also can tell you, if you don't already know it, you're costing yourself profit, right? When every project feels like a one-off scramble, you are wasting your energy, your time, and your money. Well, we have the solution for you. We have another brand new class at Luann University this fall. It's Operations 101, and it is called Introduction to Strategic Project Management. Stacy Davidson teaches this. She is from Everything But the Design, and Stacy is going to give you a repeatable project process that cuts administration time, reduces mistakes, and frees you to focus on the creative work you love. This is a top level view down. This is an introduction course. This is if you are a relatively new designer and you are thinking to yourself, I know there's lots of things to do, but I'm not even sure what order to do them in or how to approach this. This is a class for you. Picture smoother projects, happier clients, and more profit without working longer hours. So we are in early bird registration at Luann University right now through August 29th. Go over to luannuniversity.com to learn more about Introduction to Strategic Project Management. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that we're doing something a little different over the next several months. We're bringing back the most downloaded, the most talked about episodes from the last 9 years of A Well-Designed Business. These are the episodes that built businesses, that sparked aha moments, that turned you into an action taker. Now, if you're wondering why we're revisiting these episodes and what's changing with the show overall, well, I walk you through the full vision in our April 25th, 2025 episode titled The Big Shift, What's Changing on a Well-Designed Business and Why. That episode is linked for you in the show notes. Now, a quick heads up. These episodes are airing as they originally did. That means the music might sound familiar or it might be vintage. That means the event dates will definitely be out of date that I talk about. And it also means that any offers that are mentioned may or may not be valid still. But the insights, still golden. So whether it's your first time hearing this episode or your fifth time hearing it, there's something in this conversation for you right now in this season of your business. So here's the show. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, Joshua Smith is with me, and Joshua Smith and his team offer full-service residential interior design and life-changing spaces. Joshua draws on decades of experience transforming functional spaces into inspiring environments that engage the senses and nourish the soul. If you take a look at his website, you'll quickly be able to see his philosophy and mindset, which are things that we'll be digging into during this episode. And just to give you a sneak peek, find your home within is one of the many great beliefs that Joshua shares with us today. Interior design gives us the opportunity to reflect on our growth and our vision for ourselves and our lives. When we create a space we love, it changes us and the way we connect with one another and ourselves. So this is part of his philosophy. It's pretty remarkable, right? And let me tell you, if this is your first time listening to Joshua, I'm sure you'll end up feeling motivated by this episode and inspired, because that's what happened to me. I had the opportunity to meet Joshua a couple of months ago during High Point Market in 2022, and I'm really happy that we were able to sit down today and dig in to what really makes this man tick. Okay, so grab a pen and paper and let's meet Joshua. Hey, Joshua, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to our conversation.
I have too. We just met in person for the first time recently at High Point Market 2022. And we did that panel discussion on sustainability and interior design, which I have to tell you, that's not my wheelhouse, right? I don't talk about the pretty. And when I was invited to moderate that panel, I looked at this rock star list with Susie Novak, Kelly Finley, yourself, Reginald Dunlap, and Antonio Deloach. And I thought, I can't say no to that, but what do I know about sustainability? And I thought it was amazing, the different things that each of you brought out and the way that you intentionally incorporated into your business artistically, but from the business standpoint as well, which is where I was like, oh, this is exciting. So I really enjoyed that conversation. You guys are smart. Do you remember anything particular standing out from that conversation for you, or something that you would share that, for our audience on sustainability that you do in your practice?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. And of course, you're always the best moderator. But I think it was very interesting because when we think about sustainability, it's such a large umbrella, and I think we're at this stage where kind of I think the main takeaway from that, and kind of what the audience was also getting, was that it really is our responsibility as designers to ask the questions
Mm.
to the vendors of, like, how is this made, who's making it, what are the checks and balances about this. And it was really fun because different people brought different things, like whether we're talking about, is this particular foam in this sofa or this table putting off gas into the space
Mm.
that we're breathing. Is this, like one company model number, all of their furniture is biodegradable, every piece, and they work with plant-based polymers. So there was just like so
Wow.
much that came out of that. But like I
Yeah.
said, the overall really was, we've got to start asking the questions and then informing our clients, and then giving them the opportunity to say, kind of as we talked about, which shade of green do you want to be in as we go through this process?
I love that. I love that observation. You know why? It's funny because it reminds me way back in the beginning of our business at Window Works. So it was like the early 80s, and Hunter Douglas was new on the scene. And there were certain window treatments that were the go-to window treatments: Verisol pleated shades, Delmar pleated shades, Levolor mini blinds, and then louver drape verticals. These were your four major product categories. And there wasn't a lot of diversity in hard window treatments at that point. And
Hmm.
I will never forget a Hunter Douglas rep come walking into our showroom and saying, "Oh, we've got this new product. It's called a honeycomb shade, and it's energy insulating, and you can have white on the outside and a color on the inside, and all of these features and benefits that were objectively better than the Verisol shade that we were, single pleat shade that we were all touting and doing."
Hmm.
But I also remember us being like, who's Hunter Douglas and why do I care about this product? And it's the hardest thing to get somebody to change their go-tos. And as an industry, the retailers in the industry were just like, meh, whatever. And because I know this, because we used to get together with our peers, we still do with Exciting Windows. We get together with our peers, and every once in a while, somebody like, did you see that new honeycomb thing? Yeah, who cares, right? Well, you know what happened was about a year later, Hunter Douglas did this massive to the consumer marketing campaign. Better Homes and Gardens, Red Book magazine at the time, Traditional Home, all of this. And then what happened was, about at 18 months later, little by little, consumers were coming into our showroom with a page from a magazine going, "Do you have this honeycomb shade?" And
Mm,
today it is the number one selling, and it became number one in a matter of, years, not decades. And my point is the analogy that in that case, the vendor went around the retailer and made the consumer come and demand it. And what you just described was the opposite. It was you're saying it's the responsibility, which is as valid as to as the responsibility of the designer to bring it to the consumer and be the one who creates the change. Because some consumers, the Sustainable Furnishings Council has told us that 60+% of the consumers want sustainable options, but 60+% don't know where to get it. So they're out there, but there's the other 40% that are like, just we're happy to fill the landfill because they don't know anything different. And so I love your perspective that it's the responsibility of the industry to educate the consumer and bring it through the channels that way, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. And then the more demand you create, the more the vendors and the manufacturers in the space will have to pay attention. We have leaders in the industry, like you just mentioned, the one that has completely biodegradable, but others need to follow, right?
Well, absolutely. And I think that's what's happening as we ask these questions. There's another company, Hubbard and Forge, and most people don't realize this, but LED lighting, all the rage, people love it. And there are fixtures that we're able to buy that are beautiful, that have LED lighting that's supposed to last a long time. But what happens if that LED bulb for some reason is defective and goes out? Well, most people don't realize this, but like that bulb is built into the fixture, so the whole fixture ends up in the landfill. Well,
Whoa.
Hubbard and Forge is one of the first companies to make all of their light fixtures where the bulbs are changeable without having to dispose of a whole fixture. So there's like these little things that
Oh.
it's up to us, and this is why High Point's so great. And having conversations with other designers is asking these questions because we just don't necessarily know.
Yeah,
And when
I
we
never
do
knew
know,
that. That's who, the bulb goes out, so you have to throw the whole thing away. Now I get it; it's supposed to last for 100 million years, right? But if it's defective, never knew that. That's incredible.
yeah, and the only reason I knew that is because in my own house, I had gotten a couple of fixtures and they ended up being defective, or who knows, maybe it was the electrician somehow
Right.
blew the circuit, or who knows what, but the bulbs went out. And when I called the company about replacement, they're like, oh, we'll just throw those away. I'm like, the whole fixture, there's not bulbs? And they're like, no, it's wired into to the fixture itself. So we'll just have to send you new fixtures. And that's when I was
Oh,
like, what?
yeah.
Um, so yeah,
That's
so
huge.
those kinds of things that I think we're starting to learn about, and as one company does it, then other companies have to rise up to meet in
Right.
order to be competitive. And so what we're seeing is kind of like the water level starting to rise, which is really amazing because now we do have so many more resources, and there are so many more companies that do care and are doing their part to elevate the conversation about sustainability and wellness in the home.
Yeah, I love that. That's a perfect example. As a garden variety human, I had no idea of that. And I'm not even where I would say truly forefront thinking sustainability. I'm sorry to say that. But, like I'm interested in it, but I'm not that consumer that's going to come to you as, to you as a designer and be like, I'm talking about this. But that's my point in this is that even your average human that's mildly or just okay, when it works I'm interested in it, that would bother me. That would bother me. And I would specifically, if you explain that to me, I would say, okay, then yes, if it's a little more expensive to use that resource, but the whole fixture is not going into the landfill. If we have a problem, I want that one. I would do that because that's just gross. I had no idea.
Yeah, and that's many of the fixtures out there, and so that's what I mean about it being our responsibility to educate our
Yeah.
clients and let them decide. It's like
Yes.
there are so many options out there where we're not talking about compromising on quality or beauty or aesthetics. What we're saying is like, yes, and this
Yes.
can be beautiful, and it
Yes.
also has components of it that are really healthy for your home and healthy for the environment. And so client, you get to make a choice. This might be a
Right.
little more expensive to do so because it's made here and it's made this way, but you have the option. Where would you like to go with this?
Uh,
And most of the time when it's presented that way, they're like, well, of course we want to go this other direction because we have 4 children and we're wanting to do what we can to make sure that we're leaving the world as best we can for our kids.
100%. I love it. I love it. That, that was like the aha moment worth for the whole show. I'm sure there's going to be more, but I love that one. People say to me, how are you still interviewing? Like between the two podcasts, it's like over 900 interviews. I'm like, because I learn something every time.
It is amazing how everyone just carries their own nuggets of information from their own
Yeah.
experience. And that's why I love your podcast as well, because I too learn something from every other designer, which is why I think it's so important that we share our information and knowledge with each other.
100%, 100%. All right. So that was just a sidetrack here because what we really are going to talk about is you have this little philosophy of sales, service, and serenity. And you're a certified meditation instructor, you're a life coach, like you have many, many layers to you, Joshua. That is very cool. And
Thank you.
yes, and we talked about having a conversation about sales, service, and serenity, and you have certain philosophies around these three concepts. So get us started. Where does it start for you, and what do you want to? How do you set the table for this conversation?
Okay. Well, so I think, we're going to go a little backwards here, but I think the first thing that we need to think about here, especially at the beginning of the year, is the serenity component, right? Because it's like, what are you doing as a designer to cultivate peace and serenity and stillness in yourself so that you can show up as your best self for your client? But also, how are you incorporating that and integrating that and teaching that to your team? Because there was a time earlier on in my business where I was reactive, my team was reactive, we're running around like chickens and we're trying to just like make things happen, and it was like, that is not an efficient way to run a
Mm,
business and have it be enjoyable. That's the
mm,
key word here, right? Because what we do is sometimes it is like herding cats, right?
right.
And one of my clients gave me the best thing at the end of a project. He says, "You know what? I realize now that as an interior designer, you're responsible for everything, but you have control over nothing."
Oh, right,
Now
right.
there's a little truth bomb.
That's right.
And as you think about that, it's like, yeah, there are so many moving components to a project, whether it be the architectural side of things or whether it be the decorative side of things. And if we don't know how to keep our cool and to hold our center, then we're much more likely to be running around in anxiety, running around in overwhelm. And the science is out there that we're just not going to be as efficient. The energy that we show up with to meetings with our clients, like if they see that we're stressed out and anxious, they're not going to have a lot of confidence
Mm,
in our ability to execute as well. And so, this is where I think, a morning practice, and the science is out there on that too, is where we get to cultivate this stillness and this serenity. And you can create any kind of morning practice that you want. For me, it's, I wake up, drink a glass of water so I can hydrate. And then I sit down and I meditate. And then I do some prayer, whether it be your prayer, affirmations, whatever you want to do. And then you roll into a little bit of journaling and reflection. And I have found that that practice has really been a game changer in how I show up, um, for my business, for myself, for my loved ones, but also it has really allowed me to chart the course of my day.
mm. Now, so here's the thing. I've been around the bush a couple of times.
Mhm.
I have been hearing about this. Now, okay, let me just say this. This is, if we had this, if you came at me with this conversation 5, 6, 7 years ago when I started this podcast, I'd be like, where'd this woo woo dude come from? Right?
Correct.
Right?
Hmm.
Because it was not talked about so much. It's in the last 6, 7, 8 months. Maybe it's a result of the COVID pandemic, but
Absolutely.
a lot more conversation about this. So it seems very on point and all the things. However, I have been reading self help and visualization and all of this stuff for going on 50 years now. So it's not new to me, but I do think there's this groups of people like me who have heard it over and over and over and are like, okay, yeah, okay, I have a morning practice. And then people like you who have done it. And so my question is
How long does that morning practice take? You just went through multiple things. Are you doing this for, is it a total of 15 minutes? Is it a 45 minutes? Like, what are you actually investing in this morning practice?
Sure. So I would say at this point for me, I spend about 45 minutes with my practice. But what I always encourage people to do that they're starting is I call it the three fives.
Okay.
Start with 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of prayer affirmation, kind of calling in what you want, and then 5 minutes of journaling, whether that be just a simple gratitude list or whether it be just kind of a free flow. But just 15 minutes to start. You get to expand it if you want to at some point. But if you at least just do those 15 minutes, I guarantee you that with the consistency of that, you will see a radical change in how you show up and how your energy, even in your body, feels as a result of that. And of course, the science is there to back all that up in terms of how powerful meditation can be for the brain. But again, the key is to not get crazy and say like, oh my God, I got to meditate for 20 minutes and then I got to,
Right.
all that. And it's like, don't start there. Keep it simple. Start, do it consistently, because it's almost like I call it spiritual fitness, right?
Mm,
Like if you want to be strong and you want to build your strength, you have to work out consistently or you're not going to get it. If you
right.
just kind of pop into the gym periodically, you're not really doing much in terms of developing this strength. So these practices, these morning practices, are like strengthening your spiritual musculature so that you can then go out into the world and be and express your higher self, which is what people are really looking for in terms of your creativity as a designer.
It's funny because I was taught to meditate at, like I said, at 10 years old. And there's a part of me that is so, you just like you said, you get better and better at it, and you might enjoy it and you add more time to it, but your skills get better. And my life is such that I literally can meditate driving down the road. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds like, are you really, Luann? Oh, aren't you amazing? It's just, look, if you do 9,000 push-ups, now when you do a push-up, it's not hard and you can do it on demand when you need to. And it's just that level of training from my mom and from my Aunt Honey through the years, right? But what's interesting is it's almost like the universe keeps banging me on the head with this morning thing, this morning routine. If
Hmm.
something keeps coming across your sphere of awareness, and it's almost like, okay, so yeah, you do have a meditation sort of thing in your life where I'm walking and I'm doing it, or I'm driving and I'm doing it, because it's so second nature to me. But I'm realizing that the intentionality of this morning thing not probably, I know, would catapult things for me. It would just catapult, like you said, the way I show up in my day, probably. And so it's almost like somebody that has, been an accomplished runner for 40 years, and it's like, oh, I need a new pair of sneaks and I'll feel better, right? So, and I love the three fives because it is intimidating for somebody that's never done this before. Particularly the meditation part is
Hmm.
intimidating because it's like, I can't keep my brain still. It's like, it's okay, just go back to it, just clear it again, just, blah blah blah. And I have to tell you, for me, I have never journaled. I have never journaled
Mm.
because there is a part of me that absolutely understands, like Diana at my office, if she'll watch me, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to sit and work on something right now. And, I'll come up for air 3 hours later. And she's just like, lady, come on back. Come on back. You know what I mean? Because when I get focused on something, it's see you by. The house is burning around me. And I'm just like, no, see, I'm really doing this thing now and I'm getting it done. And so my brain is like, I can't start journaling in the morning because I will never get to work.
Well, and sometimes that's where, I mean, I can get carried away. And I think that's sometimes why, my practice is 45 minutes now, because I'm a big believer in affirmations. And I do believe that like the fear-based mindset, right, is like something that I can wake up with. I'm kind of wired that way. And
Mm,
so if I don't kind of program and train my mind that we're going in the direction of like love and light, and where can we bring joy and lightness to our clients and everyone we interact with, like one of my mantras is, how can I leave the room lighter than I found it?
mm.
that applies to everywhere and everything. But it's like I have to remind myself of this every single morning, because I think sometimes our default is I could wake up and be like, oh my God, I forgot I was supposed to get those plans together for this meeting at 11:30. I better call and it's like, if I wake up with that kind of anxious energy, which I have before and skipped a practice, then my day is completely derailed. And after doing this consistently enough, I know this to be true for myself, and I know this to be true for many people that I've worked with around cultivating morning practices.
You know, it's interesting because you just reminded me. I was just listening to a podcast that is like a series of motivational speeches. Just yesterday, I was listening to this, Josh, and the one speaker, it was a 8-minute clips. It was the whole podcast was 8-minute clips of 3 or 4 speeches.
Oh, wow.
And the one guy, I think it was Steve Harvey, actually. I was like, is that like it was crazy because it was older than dirt, this recording, right? I don't know how I even found it in the podcast library. But it was Steve Harvey, Jim Rohn, and Tony Robbins. And I think it was Steve Harvey that said that you wake up every morning with 2 armies at your ready. And so if you wake up in the morning and your brain is, oh my God, I got to get to work. I don't have a car. My car's broken. I have to this. I have to that. I have to pay the bills. It's never going to work out. He says you basically are activating the entire army in your brain to lean into that thought. And to just all day long. That's right. And this darn car and this client is bad. And, this, contractor is blah, blah, blah. And it literally is a self-fulfilling prophecy for the day. He said,
Absolutely.
but if you wake up and you're like, hey, I don't have a car, but I can take the train. And I get so much work done on the train. And this client is so good. And that contractor came through for me and blah, blah, blah. He goes, you're activating the whole army in your brain to look for the places in your life that work. And so that you can appreciate it and concentrate on those and create more of those, because then it becomes that principle where you never saw a red car until you got a red car and then you see the red car. It's like the same thing. It's like, what is the army in your brain looking for all day? Is it looking for all the positive or is it looking for all the negative? And the point is that this speaker said, you choose that the moment you open your eyes.
Correct.
And you're saying the same thing. So here it is. The universe is banging at me. Luann, morning practice.
It really is. It's like, it's the first thing that you have to do. And I had a meditation teacher one time that was like, drink your glass of water because you're dehydrated from overnight, drink the water, and then immediately sit down and start your practice. Because if you do anything else first,
one thing
it's out the window.
That's right.
It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that is so true. Because, we all know now too, or at least the conversation is there, that our thoughts create our actions and our actions create our experiences and our experiences create our destiny. So it all starts with our thoughts. And are the thoughts that you're thinking creating the life that you want? Or is it actually creating the life you don't want? And this is in the morning when you get to check in on that. You get to reflect on the previous day in your journaling and be like, oh, this is where I derailed yesterday. Why was that? And so you can get curious and inquisitive. And so I bring a lot of this to my team as well when we have our team meetings, because I think it's always just important to learn and grow as individuals, and really being more of, let's don't focus on the challenges. Let's look for the opportunities. And when we do so, it's like, the load feels lighter. It feels easier. We feel more connected. We work with amazing clients. And I think it's all a part of, we do attract what we think about.
I love that. And so bringing it to your team, I've had many, many employees over the years, Joshua, and there are times when you just look at all the eyeballs and you're like, yes, everybody fits, all have a similar philosophy, or at least they're willing to listen and buy in and go this way of positivity, of community within our team and blah, blah, blah. And then there's times when you look and you're like, that one person there is not going to go for this. Like they are just going to be the yeah, but person in our group. So your current team, is this something that, and I know the way around it all these years later, is you're firmly as the leader with your established culture and you hire for that culture. But my question is did you, with your existing team, I know it's yourself and 4 others, did you hire for this culture, or did you discover this and then bring it to them and they were receptive and you'd created it together?
Great question. Um, it's interesting because I think I'm now at the place, I've been in business for about 10 years, that when I place an ad on LinkedIn for a new employee, um, the people that usually come to me are people that actually loved what they've read on my website about my philosophy and about about,
Okay.
about our culture and
Mm.
what our mission is. And I've had people, very talented people. I've got one on my team now, very talented, had lots of opportunities and offers to go with some, even, big name designers. But he said that he ultimately chose to go with me because of the mindset and the whole culture and the philosophy of being of maximum service to our clients, and bringing that love and light and beauty in everything that we do. It's like I feel like we're doing interior design, but we're also doing interior design, and we get to bring that to our clients as well.
I love it. I love it. That's so good. It really does start with us as the leader, right? And
For
that's
sure.
basically what you're saying. And it's awesome. And so your team now they live in your mission, and they live in your vision. And what you're saying is that this now not only creates this terrific feeling of wellness and serenity in yourselves, but it's translating to the clients. And just as you're attracting the team members that share this belief, I'm guessing that this is bearing out in the clients that you're attracting as well.
Yeah, this is just a little bit of celebrating a win for me and my team. Is that, for many years, as we know, if we do an amazing job for our clients will refer us, and that's where most business comes from, right? Is our referral network. So I've had that for 10 years, where it's like a client will refer a friend, and or then they come back and do a second home, that kind of thing. But in the past 2 months, I've had 3 people that I did not know, that were not in my network, reach out through my website. And the reason they said they reached out was that, yes, I do beautiful work, but they really were more inspired by my ethos and wanted to learn more about it.
Wow.
And that just felt like I've been working on this ethos for literally 10 years of kind of trying to bring wellness and spirituality into my design. And so for people to really start resonating with that feels like a full circle moment for me.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That is not to be underestimated, really. I mean, I know I can hear it in your voice how happy and proud you are of it, but it needs a minute there because when you spend the time, you know what it is? Because it's not just putting the words on the paper. It's what I'm now literally getting is it's all those mornings of your morning practice where you're getting clarity on who you are, what your beliefs are, what your philosophy is, and putting that into something that is so real and tangible to you that you're able to express it on the website, and it's living and breathing and attracting people who admire it and want more of it, want it for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was very interesting. This one couple that reached out, they moved to New York City from San Francisco. They were going to be interviewing 3 designers. I met with them. And again, she told me right off the bat that the reason she reached out was because she really loved my ethos. And of course, we got to sit down and have this amazing conversation. And yes, some of it was about design, but some of it was about how we live and
Mm.
lifestyle and family, and, incorporating all this into what we're designing, because it's not that we're just designing beautiful spaces, but we're really designing beautiful livable spaces that people can use as the foundation for really living their best life. And so, to kind of roll back into that initial theme of the thing, where it's like cultivating serenity, but then that also ends up leading into how we approach sales. And for me, I don't just think of it as sales; I think of it as service.
Mm. So go into that a little bit because that is the next layer of this. It's the first layer is getting very clear on who you are, what you stand for, what you bring to the table, how you want to bring it to the table, right? You want to bring it with clarity and serenity and peacefulness and kindness and wellness. You don't want to bring it as a, raging lunatic rushing through the space, right? But once you've established that and you've got some clarity for yourself, now the translation is into the business side of it. Now we've got to go and sell. We've got to close the deals with that. That's a tangible thing that has to happen. So marry those together for us.
Sure. So, I think again, in our business, it can be very easy to get drained. It can be very easy to get jaded. I mean, we all know how many times it's like we've worked so hard on a project and like things are coming in damaged and we're having to return it and it's broken and this didn't work and it's like that can get very overwhelming. And if we let that take over as the overarching thing we're complaining about, right, then that just trickles down into everything else. And so I think what's most important is, again, the alignment every morning, and alignment with the team as to kind of where we focus our energy and attention. And what I find is that when I show up to an initial design consultation where someone's reached out and I start talking about what I believe in and what I'm passionate about, I light up.
Mm.
And because I light up, because I so believe in what I'm talking about and I believe in what I'm doing, they then in return, I can see them start to light up, them start to get excited. That's the buy-in that we're looking for, of establishing a connection of why they want to work with me as opposed to someone else out there. A lot of people can create beautiful rooms, but what we're developing is a relationship, and not just a relationship for the duration of this project, but for me, it's like I'm looking to develop relationships that last a lifetime. And so many of my clients have been with me for 10 plus years. And that to me is one of the greatest compliments. So I think sometimes we can get really hung up with the logistics of how it works and this is what we do and all of that. But first and foremost, it's establishing that connection with a client that is beyond the business, but is this personal connection. And then it's much easier to go in the conversations of establishing your worth and your value and justifying the price that you charge for your services. I'm not the cheapest out there, but what people understand and know is that this boutique level of seamless service that we're going to provide for you, and we're not just going to provide this service, but we're also going to make this fun for you, is worth every penny.
Mm.
And I think my clients will say, well, I've heard construction, I heard this can be such a stressful, crazy process. I'm like, well, it can be. And there will be moments that it will be for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm here to do is to remind you, like, we're getting to create something really amazing. And this is really an amazing opportunity that you're getting to create for yourself and your family. Like, I'm going to remind you that this is an opportunity, this is a gift, and we're going to have fun, even in the midst of the craziness, because it always works out one way or another. I've never seen a project that had crazy moments that didn't ultimately work out and have a client completely satisfied and excited with the end result.
I love this. And so there is the nuance in there that you are setting expectations. You're not being the, Nelly naysayer, right? Instead of like everything is going to wrong, it can go wrong, blah, 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 blah. But we're not pretending that it's all rainbows and unicorns either.
Mm-mm. No. Right. And I'll even tell, many times this is for the husbands, I'll say, okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to start this process and we're going to be all excited because we're in the creativity and the design and the colors and the textures and the fabrics, and everybody's super excited. And then we start presenting all of the pieces that we're going to incorporate into your home, and you're going to love it. And you're going to sign off on it. And then you're going to start writing lots and lots and lots of checks. And then you're not going to have anything for a little while, but you've written a lot of checks. So about 5 or 6 months into this, you're going to start having this little feeling of like, God, I sure have spent a lot of money. I hope this is going to look good. I have nothing really to show for it. And I said, when that time comes, I'm going to remind you that we're in that phase and that it's a totally natural phase to be in. And then a few months after that, we're going to have the big install and you're going to be like, oh my God, every check was worth it. So I do that actually when we're in that
That's good.
in-between phase where we have these long lead times. I'm like, remember when I told you in the beginning, we're going to be in that weird phase where you've written a lot of checks, but you have nothing to show for it?
Yeah.
We're here. We're
We're
here
here.
right
This
now.
is it.
This is it. This is what I was telling you
This
about.
is the
Yeah.
stop on the train right here.
So this unsettledness that you probably feel right now, that's exactly what I was talking about. But just know that in a couple of months, you're going to get that other experience I was talking about. And so I think just being a little bit more casual and a little bit more transparent with our clients just really makes the relationship just much more fluid, much more easy and approachable. And I think that's one thing people also really enjoy about working with me is that I'm not super pretentious. I'm very casual. I'm laid back. I'm very transparent. Um, and like I said, at the end of the day, I think we're all doing this because we're passionate about it and we want to have fun.
Mm-hmm. And I want to go back to that passion part right there because a few moments ago, you were talking about when you are talking about your design and how you design and your philosophy, you said you light up, right? And
I do.
you light up, and therefore that light is transferred to the consumer and to that potential client, and then they start to visualize themselves in your process, and they start to visualize, their home being cared for by you. And I want to point out that what you're doing right there is something that we've talked about on the show dozens of times. And when you hear another podcast episode and I say to you, you're not selling a commodity. If you are out there doing your presentations, having your conversations with your clients, and all of your conversation is about, well, I get the furniture for you, and then I get my discount for you, and I get this for you, and that's, I take the delivery for you, then you are selling a commodity. And what
Mhm.
Josh is doing here is he's selling the passion. He's selling the intangible that they can't get when they go into the highway furniture store and pick a sofa, right? And that is the epitome of selling you, your passion, your philosophy, your beliefs versus furniture and layouts, right?
Absolutely. It's like probably the way that I sum that up is like, I'm not out here selling a product or a service. I'm selling an experience.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why you can have 50,000 interior designers all interview with the same client because everyone is going to explain their experience, the way they deliver it, the passion and what connects that designer to design differently. And it's going to resonate differently with different people. It's like I always say, I expect you to do a beautiful room. You're a freaking designer. Come
Yeah,
on.
of course. Yeah.
I didn't go to a CPA and say, pick my layout, right? Like, come on. Right?
Yes.
But it's how are you going to do it for me? What's important to you? Because when, to your point, like when I hear you say, I light up, to me, I hear you're telling me what's important to you because what's important to each of us makes us light up. And so when I learn what's important to you as Joshua Smith, interior designer, I get to decide, is that important to me too? Because if it is, I don't care what Joshua charges, right? But if
Correct.
I'm listening to Joshua and I'm like, not really into all this. This isn't my thing. This it doesn't matter. It doesn't make you good or bad. It just makes you not my you, right? And
Yeah.
that's
And
why there is no such thing as competition because we're not selling commodity. We're selling ourselves. We're selling our passion, right?
absolutely. And I am definitely one that I tell people that they should interview multiple
Right.
designers because it is about developing this relationship and it does need to be a good fit because you're going to be pretty bonded for an extended period of time. And so you want to make sure that you feel good about it too. And so if a client, for whatever reason, a potential client decides that I'm not the right fit, I'm actually relieved because I don't want a client to work with me if they don't feel like I'm the best fit for them.
Right. Exactly. And when you do this from the beginning, right? So it's so funny how many thousands of conversations we've had about the process and establishing a process in our business. And it's so crazy because I think it always pretty much starts, of course, the marketing starts before the inquiry call comes in. But when we think about the actual design process, we often identify it as inquiry call comes in. What do we say? What information do we want to gather? What information do we want to express? What are the markers that we're using to evaluate if this is potentially a right client for us and our firm, right? But I almost think now we have to like wipe all of those slates clean, and the process starts with the morning practice. right it's like it starts there. How are we presenting ourselves in our day? How are we doing all of our things? And so when we do this and we start with getting clear on our philosophy that we then express, and we're light up and we're passionate when we do it, now we land the client. But it probably, talk to me about the process of working with the client throughout it, like converting it to furniture sales, converting it to not just doing the construction part of the project, but actually doing the furnishings and the window treatments and placing all of the last tchotchkes. Is it my guess is it's a domino effect that you just remove barrier after barrier and yeah but after yeah but. Am I on the right track, Joshua?
You are on the right track, and I think for me, and I think if you look at my website and you look at my various projects, it's like I don't just work in one vernacular. I don't have just one approach to all of my designs. I really do bring my client into the process because I want them to learn about design. I want them to really get clear about what their style is and who they are and how they want to live. Because when we create spaces that are a reflection of who they are and how they want to live, then their homes inspire their minds. It nurtures their spirit. It helps connect them to their loved ones and to the divine, however they choose to define that. And so we really do have this opportunity to engage our clients in the process. And so I think because I do that and they do feel a part of the process, of course, I'm the guide, of course, through the whole thing. And I tell them I get veto power. but but we do. And so as we move through that process of, I take clients through about 40 questions in the very beginning, to really get clear on who they are. And it goes beyond, favorite color and do you like beige or gray? All of those are in there, of course. But I also get into, tell me about a favorite childhood experience and why.
Hmm.
Tell me about a favorite vacation and why that vacation was so special. Tell me about your favorite hotel and why that was your favorite hotel.
Hmm.
So what I do is I end up getting all these answers to these questions. And a lot of times couples will do it. We do it together and they end up finding out things about each other that they didn't even know. And they've been married for 10 years. But what happens is I take all that information and kind of create an analysis. And basically it tells me, okay, this is where I need to come from, of course, with my filter to help them really create this experience for themselves. And so we often start with a mood board based on the information that we heard. If they feel really good about, because I often tell people this too, it's not just how you want your space to look, it's how you want your space to feel.
Hmm.
When you walk through the door at the end of every day, I'm looking for this experience. You walk in, the door closes behind you, and you do this.
Hmm.
It feels so good to be home.
Hmm.
And that moment, to me, is what I'm always aiming for when I create spaces for clients, because I do believe that our homes are our sanctuaries. They're our modern day sanctuaries. And so the mood board helps me to see if it captures the feeling that they're looking for. And then from there, we go into, of course, product selections and all that kind of good stuff. But I think the main thing is and I've learned this over the experience of doing it for years, is that I think in the beginning, I might not have been as confident in my presentation abilities.
Hmm.
And so if there's a sense that I'm not super confident about what I'm proposing and how I'm proposing it and how this is all going to work together, then there might be a little insecurity and indecision on a client's part. But what I found now is that when I go in and I'm able to, again, light them up
Hmm.
about what it is I'm presenting them, and then they get excited about it, it's much easier to sign off on when, again, the kind of light is the through thread between all of this, because we all know when we're lit up about something and we're excited about something, we're excited to move forward towards that. Um, and when we're not, well, then things get stuck, and it's not as seamless of a process.
Yeah, I just I love I love that you just identified the light is the through line for all of this, because it is true, and it 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 just goes to show you that at the heart of everything we do, I believe, is confidence in what we're doing.
Hmm.
And you're calling it out as being lit up, and it's the same thing, right? And it starts with self-reflection and understanding who you are and what you love and what you're passionate about, and then that translates. And you are 100% right. You cannot sell somebody two, three, $400,000 worth of furnishings if you're not confident in presenting it. And why was it selected? And the why goes all the way through. For you, you have this tagline on your website, finding your home within. So it's when you are personally, Joshua, connecting that philosophy to the presentation of a $250,000 furniture budget, there's no arguing with it. I can just see it. It's just like, okay, here's a checkbook, because it's not just a commodity list of end tables and lamps and rugs and things. It's these things. I asked you these personal questions about yourself, about who you are, about what formed who you are, about how you want to feel present day, and what you share as a couple, and what your ideals are for your life in this house. And this list of $250,000 furnishing is a result of all of that, right?
Correct. Correct. And so therefore, it's almost like they're always like, "Oh my God, you nailed it." And I'm like, well, that's because I did the legwork up front, right? We really dove in to express your personality and who you are through what we're presenting to you right now.
Right.
Just to give you a couple of examples, because I know some of this sounds very abstract in many ways. So I had one client, and in his comment about growing up and things that he loved, is he said when he was a child, he loved airplanes, that he would just like lay in the backyard and watch airplanes fly over, or, collected airplanes. But that was something that kind of, disappeared as he got older. But as we were thinking about kind of the piece of art that we were going to have across from the bed in his bedroom, what we came up with was we found this beautiful black and white photography of this plane taking off. And so every morning that was his reminder to rise to new heights. So that was the first thing he saw when he woke up in the morning. And that was his reminder to say, yep, today's the day I'm going to rise to new heights.
Yeah.
And so it's being intentional about what we're choosing and selecting and how it relates to a particular client.
See, that is so powerful, because if you had not asked the in-depth questions that led to that, awareness of his childhood, loving the planes and stuff, you would have put a beautiful piece of art there. You're talented. You would have found something that was amazing. Yeah. He would have loved it. He would have thought, oh, isn't that so pretty? But this is like a visceral reaction for him every morning.
Correct. Yeah, like I'm not a big airplane fan,
check.
So I probably never would have gone and found a black and white photography of an airplane. But because he mentioned that was something that was so inspiring as a child, then that can inspire the child within him now.
Right. I love that. That is the epitome of what the true essence of an interior designer is. It's yes, you have to have the skill set of spatial planning, and what are all those things that you have to have a skill set for?
Yeah, all those things you learn in school.
All those things, right?
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the magic that you bring to it, right?
Correct.
Because you can go into a box store and somebody can put your furniture on a floor plan for you. I mean, computer programs can do it, for crying out loud, right?
Yeah.
You can get a computer program and put in all the pieces and put in your room size, and it will configure it, for crying out loud. That's not your skill set. That is your skill set. That is not your magic. That is not why somebody hires you.
Yeah, I'm not aiming to go for a catalog look.
Right.
you know?
And the thing is, I think what I'm also just really hammering home on this is, even if you, as an interior designer, put your floor plan to a computer program and come up with it, it's that computer program is not going to come up with that black and white plain soaring. That's the magic, right? The computer might say big piece of art here, 58 by 75. But
Correct.
like, who's picking that? And that is the genius. That is what you bring. And when we talk about, oh, where's the industry going to go? Everything's available online, and all of the things, and e-tail and all of that stuff. Yes, it's all a thing, but this is the ammunition for it. This is the what is it? The anti-drug for, Amazon and all the other darn places that you can order all this stuff online for, because you can't order this type of in-depth analysis, probing, creativity, connecting of passion ideas, and all of the things online. You can't. That's your magic secret sauce, and you have to find each your own, and lean into it, right, Joshua?
Yes, that's absolutely right. And this is where the journaling is so helpful, because this is where all of my
Yes.
answers have come from. As I've cultivated thoughts, beliefs, opinions, approaches, is it's kind of in that creative flow space. Because we can kind of sit there and like think about things in our head, but for most of us that are creative, we are visual. And so
Mm.
to write this out, put pen to paper, and then to see what we're coming up with really starts to transform how we show up and how our conversations unfold, which the connection between the client and yourself is really at the forefront of what you need to establish first.
I love it. I love it. I love it that you just tied it back. It's like a Seinfeld episode. You just tied it right back to the beginning. Thank you.
I do
mean,
what I can. I do what I can.
That's it. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it better. No, I love it. I do love it. I love it so much. And of course, what's coming through is your life coach training and your meditation training and all of that. When you have that knowledge and that skill set, and then you are bringing it through to the other areas of your life, business, personal, all of the things. It's terrific, and I admire you for it. And you might have inspired me to start I'm going to do the 3 5s. You know what? I have to have a timer on it, because I will sit down at 8 o'clock in the morning. It'll be 2 in the afternoon. I'll be like, you missed 4 podcast interviews.
Set the timer. Set the timer. In fact, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to be reaching out, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm just checking in. How's the 3 5s going?
I know. I have to do like when I put my grandkids to sleep. They're like, oh, 5 more minutes, Mom. And I'm like, okay. And then Lucy always goes, set the timer. And so you're laying in the dark in her bedroom. Set the timer. And I put the phone on for 3 minutes, and it goes off. I'm like, okay, I'm really leaving now.
How sweet.
Oh, yeah. No, I love it. Thank you. You have inspired me, and you've inspired me in more ways than one. Actual concrete knowledge. I always love getting some new concrete knowledge, which you've given to me. But you're making me reflect on a lifetime of incorporating visualization, meditation, gratitude, affirmations. These are all in my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But I have never in I probably, maybe when I was younger, high school, middle school, did it on the regular in writing, because that was when I was developing the practice. But it's decades since it's been a formal practice, and it's just so part of my DNA. But I do think that there's value in doing it this way, and I'm going to do the 3 5s.
Well, I'm very excited that I was able to share that with you and inspire you to do so. And
Yeah.
I would invite you. I would love for you to check back in with me in 30 days and let me know how it's going.
All right. I'm going to. And it's just so apropos that we're recording this on the first business day of 2023. So it just feels very like, and go get them, Slugger. You got this.
Absolutely. Let's kick this into high gear.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Joshua. I have enjoyed this conversation, and you've given me tremendous value from it. And I'm sure that you've given our colleagues value too. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. This has been so fun, such a pleasure. And, speaking of light, like, you have one of the brightest lights as well. So thank you for being that in our community.
Thank you.
All righty, we got to give him a hashtag smart guy, right? I mean, he inspired me to start doing the 3 5s. And that is no small feat. I talked a little bit about how I can meditate walking, driving. And if you are new to meditation, you might hear that in disbelief. But like anything that you've done for so many years, you do get better at it, and you do get to a point anyway with meditation where with 2 or 3 good breaths, I call them yoga breaths, you get centered. And that is meditation right there. That's centering, okay? The difference in what happened to me today was remembering the next layer of this, the next level of this, that there are more ways to employ the tools of meditation and journaling and recognizing with consciousness all of the things that you're grateful for in your life, and to taking just 15 minutes for the 3 5s. So I have been enjoying doing it since I've spoken with Joshua, and I'm happy to report that I feel great. So I encourage you to do it as well. Now, let's talk about some of the takeaways. He dropped a pretty important question today. What are you doing as a designer to have peace and serenity for yourself so that you can show your best self, and you can also help your team do the same? This is something we can sometimes put aside as we get caught up in the day-to-day and all the challenges that the day brings us. But like Joshua mentioned, we simply cannot keep running around like headless chickens. We need to hold our center, not only for ourselves, but for our team and the way it translates to our clients. Another thing I loved, how can I leave the room lighter than I found it? Great line, right? That's something that takes some serious thinking. But once you do that thinking and you find the answer for yourself and you keep remembering it, I mean, what transformation can you make in yourself and others? And I've met him a couple of times, and he does. He lives by what he says, okay? So in his case, Josh and his team are so aware of their answers to these deep questions that now, like he said, his clients come to them because of their philosophy first, right? That they identify with that, and they want that in their lives. Like we always say, I expect you to make the room pretty. These are what we talk about, our Fred Burns onlys from way back in the day. If you're a new listener, from the beginning, we talked about, Fred Burns taught us, what are your onlys? Okay? And in this particular case, Joshua is leading with his philosophy and his deep beliefs about life that come from all of his experiences. And because he puts it out there with his heart, his soul, the vulnerability on his website, it's resonating, right? So you might also find that you want to turn functional spaces into nurturing spaces, right? That's a generic-ish sort of term. But the only in it, the way you attract your client, different from Joshua's client, is the way you express that. And that is what's critical. So we're not searching for, really, I'm the only designer ever on the whole wide world to think this, do this, or be this. But your inner work that Josh described, that time to think about what it really is that's important to you and how you express it, that is your only. That only can come from you. And that is really the heart of his message to us, okay? And the thing is, we talked about it during the conversation. This is the saving grace of selling you as a person versus the commodities of the furniture and the lamps and all the things. People aren't going to question you when they really believe what you are and who you are is so clear to them that they can only get it from you. Okay? This comes from being connected to your why, right? And this is not only going to help you build the business you desire and work it and live it in a way that brings you happiness and joy, but as we keep saying, it'll allow your potential clients to resonate with you in a deeper, more meaningful way that eliminates all of the other designer's going to do this, and she does flat fees, and he does hourly, and he gives me a discount, and she that, right? That's the goal. Get it centered on you and your creative, personal, emotional, passionate deliverables, because the rest is just furniture. All right? I love these kinds of conversations. I think they're so great. I hope you enjoyed it. And Joshua, thank you tons for sharing your experience and your heart and your philosophy with us today. I really, really, really enjoyed it. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that you show up. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.